pamozi ndimtima umo. Tiende pamozi ndimtima umo.
Hello everyone and welcome to the MTN Teleschool. My name is Chiwama and I'm pleased to be on this MTN platform to revise past papers with you. I'm a specialist in English and today we'll look at a few questions from the November 2017 paper 2 English language. Now, this paper is 60 marks. It contributes 60 marks towards the final marks of 100. Remember, the paper 1 is 40 and this paper has the 60 marks. The structure section carries 20 marks. So we'll look at the first structure section in this series, and then we'll move on later in another series to look at the comprehension and the summary. So we'll begin by explaining a few things about the structure. The structure here normally is composed of the question 1, which has section 1 and 2. Section 1 normally tests vocabulary in students, and section 2 has some structure, sentence transformations, which are structures that students learn over time. Remember, what we eventually learn is an accumulation of the different structures that we have done and taught you from grade 8 up to grade 12, but at senior level it's a 3-year course. The 3-year course starts from grade 10 up to grade 12. Now, focusing our attention on the vocabulary that came in 2017, there are 20 questions in this section, and each question is worth half a mark. So this section contributes 10 marks out of the 20 questions. So candidates normally are given 4 options, like it was the case in the 2017 paper. They are given 4 options, and candidates are expected to select the best possible answer or from the 4 options given. Now, candidates are asked to select or to write the words in the spaces provided in the question paper. Remember, paper 2 is answered from the question paper itself. So there is enough space provided from the question to write your answers there. Now, candidates were to write the answers from the choices given. So if you read the instructions on top there, it says from the 4 options provided, select the best word or words which are or is closest in meaning to the underlined word in the sentence. Write your answer in the space provided. There's an example provided there, and the example reads, he made a plea to his parents. He made a plea to his parents, and the possible answers given are request, response, list, shout. And the best answer according to that example is request. So now we'll look at the questions. We'll start with question 1. Question 1 reads, the march did not start on time as one of the march officials arrived late. The options given as answers is turned on, turned over, turned up, and turned out. So from those options, the word that is closest in meaning to arrive late is the word turned up. Number 2, the bag is made of artificial leather, and the options given are modern, synthetic, new, natural. So analyzing those, modern is automatically out, new and natural is out. So the closest word in meaning to the word artificial is the word synthetic. Number 3, due to the drought, the power supply was irregular. Due to the drought, the power supply was irregular, and the underlined word there is irregular. The options given are slow, impatient, prolific, erratic. Now, If you compare the options given there, you realize that the word erratic has the similar meaning as irregular. So the third answer there is erratic. Question 4. The head teacher asked the prefects to give him their candid opinion about the mischief maker. The head teacher asked the prefects to give him their candid opinion about the mischief maker. And the options given are solid, frank, firm, and real. Analyzing those, if you compare candid with the options given, you do realize that the best possible answer is frank. Now, the secret here is to master your vocabulary very well, and the only way you can improve your vocabulary as a student and as an individual out there is to read as extensively as possible. Remember to pick on what you enjoy most. What you enjoy, if you read what you enjoy, you keep on improving your vocabulary even without realizing. Move on to question 5. The United States of America provides an apt example of an affluent country. The United States of America provides an apt example of an affluent country. The options given are industrialized, democratic, wealthy, capitalist. And the best possible option given there is the word wealthy. Question 6. Industrial towns are usually polluted by smoke. Industrial towns are usually polluted by smoke. The options given are filled, contained, oxidized, contaminated. And the word that is closest in meaning to the word polluted there is the word contaminated. Question 7. The president accommodated a diversity of ideas. The president accommodated a diversity of ideas. And the word underlined there is diversity. The options given are complicity, uniformity, variety, consistent. And the best possible answer there is the word variety, which is a synonym of diversity. Remember, the word synonym is two words that share the same meaning, and the opposite are called antonyms. Words that share the opposite meaning are known as the antonyms. Moving on to question 8. The outfit was suitable for the weather. Options given are specific, typical, characteristic, appropriate. And the best possible answer for that is the word appropriate. Appropriate. Question 9. She by chance found the missing ring. She by chance found the missing ring. The phrase that is underlined there is by chance found the missing ring. By chance found the missing ring. The options given are came to, came round, came up, came across. And the best possible option for question 9 is came across. Question 10. An old friend of mine called at my office yesterday. An old friend of mine called at my office yesterday. The options given are visited, telephoned, shouted at, retained to. The best possible answers given there are visited, telephoned, shouted at, retained to. And the best possible answer is visited. Question 11. I was asked to record the interview verbatim. The word that is underlined there is verbatim, and the answers given are verbally, word for word, in writing, orally. So the best possible answer there is word for word. Moving on to question 12. We should not always back up our friends in what they say. The underlined word there is backup. So the options given are support, oppose, disappoint, accept. 12, the best possible answer there is support. All members agreed to a tentative proposal for raising the membership fee. All members agreed to a tentative proposal to raising the membership fee. And the options given there are timely, final, provisional, initial. The best possible answer there is provisional. Question 14. Some people have only superficial knowledge of things. The underlined word there is superficial, and the options given are deep, shallow, little, superfluous. The best possible answer there is shallow. Question 15 reads, the plan fell out because few members supported it. And the options given are failed, succeeded, collapsed, dropped. If you analyze those answers, the best possible answer is the word failed. Now, remember, the best way you can improve and get to master this section and answer it very well is by engaging yourself in reading. Reading, and reading. Pick on things that you can enjoy. Do not force yourself to pick something that you are not enjoying as you read it. That way you will improve your vocabulary, and you will not even realize that certain words you have come to know them by engaging in reading. Remember, the best way to improve what you read is constantly engaging yourself in reading. If you come across a word that you do not appreciate, a word that you do not enjoy, or you do not know, there are about 3 options available. 1, you could have a chance to consult a dictionary. 2, if there is no dictionary available immediately, you could also consider trying to understand the word from the context, from the way the sentence has been constructed, what other words are you able to understand from that word? And when they are used, what is it that they talk about? It will help you to come and at a correct or at a possible meaning of a word that you do not appreciate in that particular line. Question 16. The police came across a cadaver near the post office. The police came across a cadaver near the post office. And the possible answers given there are carcass, corpse, criminal, suspect. Cadaver, the other word that has the exact meaning as cadaver is the word corpse, a dead body. Question 17. Carbon dioxide extinguishes fire. Carbon dioxide extinguishes fire. The options given are puts off, put out, switches off, switches out. Now, if you analyze those, the word extinguish there has the same meaning as the word or phrase put out, which is a phrasal verb. Put out is a phrasal verb. Question 18. She has been unwell for a long time and her health has deteriorated. She has been unwell for a long time and her health has deteriorated. And the possible answers given there are decreased, failed, worsened, declined. And the word that has the same meaning as deteriorated is the word worsened. Question 19. Water is a therapy. Water is a therapy. Answers given there are need, a want, a healer, a liquid. The best possible answer there is the word healer. Question 20. Killing people is a heinous crime. Killing people is a heinous crime. The underlined word given there is heinous. The possible options given are serious, bad, sad, heartless. The best possible answer that has the equivalent meaning as heinous is serious. So, in this particular section, there are 20 questions, and if you get all of them, with each weighing half a mark, you will have gotten 10 marks out of 60. I always tell candidates and students that in this particular paper, you don't need to look for answers elsewhere. The answers are within the paper. As you will see, when you proceed to the other section, you do realize that even the answers are provided and given to you as you are learning. So you don't need to look for answers elsewhere. Within the same paper, all the answers are given to you. In the transformations, in the summary, in the comprehension, the answers are within the same question paper. Okay, so now we've covered the first part of this paper, which is a structure, and for last year 2017 it was testing vocabulary, and there were 20 questions worth 10 marks. We can move on to section 2 of question 1 in paper 2 of the same paper for 2017, and these are transformations. But then at this point, allow me to say something about this, because there's a very big misconception among students, especially students that do not get to master and try to learn the structure that they are taught in class. Most students take it for granted that when you learn the condition in class as a structure, the contrast, the evasion, the direct speech to indirect speech, question tags, we tend to take it for granted that it's as if it's an everyday thing, every day like that, because, and especially that this is language, most students tend to ignore that. But then, the common mistake that students make is to come and try and sort of memorize answers. Because many a time I come across a student who even run after you and say, what is the answer to this? But when you ask, do you understand the structure behind this question? Most of them do not know. So, the best I would advise students here is that this section is composed of the structures that you learn in class. So if you want to get these questions correctly, it is important to get to revise and look at the structures that you were taught in class. That will be very, very helpful in answering this section. Memorization will not assist you, because if you memorize an answer and then the same structure is twisted and it is asked just by changing a few words there, you may not get it correctly because what you've memorized is different. The most important thing in this particular case is the structure. Many a time I come across students who would come, so teach me rewrite. And I ask them, you can't sit in one session to teach you rewrites. There's no subject, a topic in English as rewrites. But what makes up rewrites or transformations in this particular paper, like we had last year, are structures that you learn from grade 10, from parts of speech, from types of sentences, up to all those structures that are covered in that particular syllabus. So the best advice is refer back to that book, revise, get to know the rule governing the construction of each and every sentence under that. Now, if you pay attention to the instruction that is on this particular question, it says, in each of the following items, sentence A is complete, but sentence B is incomplete. Complete sentence B, each time making it as similar as possible in meaning to sentence A. Now, there comes the most important instruction there. It says, make sentence B one sentence and never two. Do not make any changes to the printed parts of sentence B. So, from that instruction, there are two very key points. Do not change the meaning of the original sentence. That is, what is the meaning that is in part A of the question must not be changed when you are trying to answer part B. And your answer in part B must always be one sentence and never two. So if you look at the example that has been provided there, Chuma broke the window. Chuma broke the window. And the instructions are requiring that you rewrite that sentence starting with the mirror. I'll read the example again. Chuma broke the mirror. Chuma broke the mirror. And you are being asked to start with the phrase, the mirror. Now, that question is asking you, is an inversion question. So, Chuma is the subject in that particular sentence, and mirror is the object. So now, the two have switched positions. Where there was the position of Chuma as a subject, that's where we have taken the object. And the answer has been phrased as follows: the mirror was broken by Chuma. So that particular sentence has been inverted. Now, going to the questions themselves. Question 1 says, the pool is deeper here than at the far end. The pool is deeper here than at the far end. The instructions are that you rewrite that sentence starting with the phrase at the far end. Now, that question is a comparison structure. It's a comparison structure and it has three possible answers. The first one being, at the far end, the pool is not as deep as here. At the far end, the pool is not as deep as here. And then the other possible answer would be, at the far end, the pool is shallower than here. Then the other alternative would be, at the far end, the pool is not so deep as here. But in your case as a student, you don't need to write all the three options. If you pick any of the three and provide one of the answers there, it would be correct. But those are the three possible answers for that particular question. Question 2. Question 2 is a direct is a transmission from direct to indirect speech, and it reads, "Give this receipt to your teacher tomorrow," Mumba said. Now the words that are inverted commas are the words, actual words that were spoken by Mr. Banda. And what the outer part that reads, "Shouted Mr. Banda," is what we refer to in language as the speech tag. So you are making a transition from direct speech to indirect speech. As a result, in indirect speech, you don't need to use the quotation marks, and your answer should be Mr. Banda commanded Mumba to give that receipt. So this in the part A, okay, that receipt to her or his teacher, because we are not sure whether Mumba is a boy or a girl. And then the word tomorrow changes to the following day. The following or next day. And because it's direct speech, you don't need to use the quotation marks. At this particular point, I would like to ask that you master these questions. We'll take a short break, think about what we've covered so far, and then we'll come and continue when we come back.
you expect more from your internet service? Maybe it's time to switch to MTN's 4G internet. Introducing the next level in high-performance mobile network technology, taking your home or office internet experience to a whole new level while keeping it simple. Get to work by the click of a button or manage your team from miles away. Browse faster, download multiple files, and stream videos quicker with no limits. Get it all done with MTN's 4G internet. So don't let your internet slow you down. Stay online in real time all the time. Get your MTN 4G SIM today and find your nearest 4G zone to enjoy maximum performance of your 4G enabled device. MTN, everywhere you go.
Enyimbo shinapeera ekyalo omwewo.
Without music, our lives would be lifeless.
Music gives the mind wings.
Music refreshes the soul on this journey of life and never dies.
It's who we are. I mean, it's what we do.
It's what we feel.
What would we be without music?
The future of music streaming is MTN Music Plus.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Hello to everyone. We'll continue with question 3 in the transformation structures. And the question A reads, under question 3 says, you will not qualify to enter college until you are 16. And the instruction is that you rewrite that sentence starting with the word not until. So that structure is a time clause, and you are required to rewrite it maintaining the same meaning. You have to still transmit the same meaning that this person can only enter college until he or she is 16. So the answer reads must be not until you are 16 will you qualify to enter college. Question 4. Question 4 reads, although the storm was heavy, the little girl walked to school. You are being asked to rewrite that sentence starting with the phrase in spite of. Now, if you realize that question falls under what we refer to as contrasts. That question falls under contrasts. And if you've done your contrast structures there, you do realize that that question can have more than one possible answer. So you are being asked to rewrite that one, starting with in spite of. Remember, in spite of should not be written as one word, it must be written separately. And the first answer is in spite of the heavy storm, the little girl walked to school. In spite of the heavy storm, the little girl walked to school. The other option should be in spite of the fact that sorry, let me just correct something there. In spite of the fact that the storm was heavy, the little girl walked to school. And the other option should be in spite of the storm being heavy, the little girl walked to school. Again here, though you have three optional answers, the best, you should just provide one answers. The varieties are just there to assist you to answer. Question 5 says, you can scream as much as you can, but she will not hear you. You can scream as much as you can, but she will not hear you. Supposed to start with, the instructions demand that you start with the word however. Okay. So the answer there must be however much you scream, she will not hear you. Moving on to question 6. Question 6 reads, the book was so good that it was published right away. The book was so good that it was published right away. That question falls under intensifiers, and you're supposed to rewrite it using the word so. And the answer should be so good was the book that it was published right away. Okay. Then moving on, question 7. Question 7 reads, Mary had just left the room when the baby started crying. Mary had just left the room when the baby started crying. The instructions are that you rewrite this one using, starting with the word scarcely. This one, just like question 6, is an intensifier as well, because you are using the intensifier scarcely, and the answer should be scarcely had Mary left the room. The common mistake here with most students is to use the word than instead of the word when. When the baby started crying, or scarcely did Mary leave the room when the baby started crying. So you've got two options, but you can only write one of them as an answer. Okay? So now you do realize that this section is made up of different questions. The questions are based on the different structures that are linked throughout the 3-year course, plus the build-up from grade 8 and grade 9. Remember also, as a way of revising, do not neglect the books, the grade 8 books and the grade 9, especially the Zambia Education Publishing course books for grade 8 and 9, both book 1 and 2. Those are very good in structures, and they will assist you very well in trying to get the structures correctly. Question 8. The structure falls under reason, and the instructions are, the question reads, the goods were stolen because the building was not secured. The goods were stolen because the building was not secured. And the instructions are that you start with the goods. So the first possible answer is the goods were stolen. Goods were stolen because, as an option there, you can also use the word since, or another reason structure has the building lacked security. The other option would be the goods were stolen due to the building's lack of security. And then, thirdly, another option would be the goods were stolen owing to the building's lack of security. So all the three options are correct, but you can only provide one option, and that option is what any of the three can be provided as an answer. Now, question 9 is a participle phrase. Now, when you are answering a question on a participle phrase, it is also important and helpful to know and identify which one is the subject of your sentence. It is helpful to appreciate which is the subject of a sentence as you are answering the question, because it becomes critical, as will be highlighted in the following answer. But first of all, the question reads, while Monde was picking mushrooms in the bush, a snake bit her. While Monde was picking mushrooms in the bush, a snake bit her. Supposed to start, the instructions are that you rewrite that sentence with picking mushrooms. Okay. So your answer must really pick and choose the correct subject of a sentence. And rewriting that, picking mushroom in the bush, Monde was bitten by a snake. Now, compare this answer with the following and see where, if you misplace the subject of a sentence, the meaning will completely change. Now, if you compare those two sentences, picking mushrooms in the bush, Monde was bitten by a snake, and picking mushrooms in the bush, the snake bit Monde. The first one is that it establishes the fact that Monde is the subject of a sentence and she's the one who was picking the mushrooms. Now, whilst she was doing that, a snake bit her. But with the second option, which is wrong, because it changes the meaning of the original statement there. Remember in the part A, it says Monde, wow Monde. And Monde in this particular case is the subject of our sentence. While Monde was picking mushrooms in the bush, a snake bit her. So it is Monde who was picking the mushrooms. But if you write your sentence as follows, picking mushrooms in the bush, the snake bit Monde, it will have meant it is the snake that was picking the mushrooms, and whilst doing that, it actually beat Monde. So here, the secret is, as you answer the part that is the subject of a sentence, the one that was doing that particular task must be established by linking it directly to the option, as we have done in this particular answer. Okay, that is the secret. So when you remember, if your teacher taught you tenses, after tenses you must have learned a topic on participle phrases. Refer back to that and see how best you can answer those questions. So do not make this mistake of misplacing the subject of this sentence, because you will have completely changed the meaning of the whole sentence. Question 10, which is the last question in this particular section. The question reads, the children were roasting cassava and giving it to their parents. The children were roasting cassava and giving it to their parents. Supposed to rewrite beginning with the word cassava. Cassava. I'm sure we all know what cassava is. In one of the local dialects, it is called ditute. So you begin your sentence with cassava. So this question, just like the many others, has three possible answers. This question, just like the many others, has three possible answers. And the first answer is, cassava was being roasted and given to their parents by the children. That is option 1. Option 2 would be cassava was being roasted and given to the parents by their children. And the third option is cassava was being roasted by the children and given to their parents. Remember, the last word in this particular sentence is pronounced as parents and not parents. Okay, so now those are the answers that are supposed to be on that particular section. And if you answer all these, remember the meaning is already provided in part A of the sentence. So all what you have to do is to rewrite it, maintaining the same meaning that is in part A. Now as you write, don't forget the following. Your spellings must be correct and the punctuation must be correct, because if any of those, especially the punctuation, is left out, it might lead to you being undermarked. Maybe you are given a half a mark instead of the full 1 mark. Okay? And also, your answer must always be one answer and never two. Where a question has more than one option as an answer, just provide one of those options. Do not give more than is necessary. Again, I'll repeat the message that I started with. Transformations should not be memorized. Transformations should not be memorized, but it must be, I'll repeat, it must be dealt with according to the rules of each and every structure which you learned in class for the all 3-year course that you've had. Okay? It is common for students to assume that this section can be answered simply by memorizing, but that is not the key. The most important skill the candidate needs is to appreciate and understand each and every structure that is being tested and applying the rules that govern such a structure. The rules needed in this structure are taught from grade 8 up to 12. At high school, the course starts from grade 10 to grade 12. But remember, English is a build-up. The same way that you may have learned that a verb is a doing word in grade 1 is what we have built on up until now. And language is dynamic, it is ever changing. You must always keep abreast by reading extensively. You will help yourself, you build your vocabulary, you know how to pronounce words if you keep reading and pick on materials that you can read and enjoy. Do not force yourself to read things that you do not enjoy. That will be the biggest mistake. And as you write, remember, if you are using your own words, stick to words that you can use correctly and appropriately. Because the best writers and speakers of English are those that can use words and phrases that they can use correctly and appropriately. So for now, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Teleschool English Revision Paper 2 first part. That's been a pleasure to be on MTN Teleschool. My name is again Bright Chiwama, and I would like to thank you, and I would like to urge you to tell your friends about this program. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell your schoolmates about MTN Teleschool. It's available on MTN Facebook, and there's an app which is MTN TV Plus. You can watch it for free there and get as much information as possible as you prepare. Remember, it's not just English, there are many other subjects. For now, it's bye-bye.
Tiende pamoja ni mtima umo. 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 Tiende pamoja ni mtima